Good morning everyone. So for this video, we will be discussing the data collection process. Okay? So we have three general topics dito. We have the number one, yung methods of data collection. Number two, we have probability sampling. And number three, we have non-probability sampling. For this video, focus muna tayo sa number one topic, which is yung methods of data collection. So ano-ano nga ba yung iba't ibang paraan ng pagkuha or pag-collect or pag-gather ng data or information. Okay? So i-recall lang muna natin yung tatlong terms na yan. We have the data, statistics, and information. Okay? So as we can see, connected yung ating tatlong terms by an arrow. Yung data connected to statistics, which is connected to information. So anong ibig sabihin yan? Okay? So if we have certain data, and if we properly analyze that using statistical tools, we could come up with reliable, accurate, or valuable na information. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yan, tamang data, tamang method, or tamang statistical analysis will result to tamang information. Okay? Which is dapat yung tama. Okay? So, ang tanong dyan, paano tayo makakakam up ng tamang data? Okay? So, ang first na tanong dyan, where do data come from? Saan galing yung data na yan? Okay? And how are they gathered? Paano na-collecta or na-collect yung mga data na yan? How do we ensure accuracy? Gaano katama yung data na yon? Okay? Are the data reliable? And are they representative of the population from which they were drawn? Okay? So, yan, i-recall lang natin yung terms na population and sample. Okay? So, yung population is kabuuan or yung kalahatan ng o kabuuan ng gusto nating pag-aralan. Okay? So, however, sometimes or most of the time, mahirap pag-aralan ng buong population. Mahirap pag-aralan yung pangkalahatan o yung kabuuan. Instead, kukuha lang tayo ng maliit na bahagi ng population. So we simply get a small portion of the population, and that is what we call as the sample. Okay? So yung sample na yan, yun yung ating pag-aralan, and whatever data we collected, yun yung gagamitin natin to create the information. Okay? So ibig sabihin dapat representative yung ating samples para yung ating data will also represent or will also reflect kung ano yung ating population. Okay? So sa mga tanong na ito, so critical yung tamang method ng pag-collect. Okay? Pag tama ang method, tama yung data na kukuha, then tama yung information na ma-generate. Okay? So dapat tama yung ating method na gagawin, no, in a research or any research activity. Okay, so ano-ano yung ating mga methods of data collection? So meron tayong tatlong general methods. Number one, we have objective method. It involves getting actual measurements and observation. So sa objective method, yung ating researcher, kung tayo ang researcher, tayo ang source of the data or information. Tayo ang gumawa, nag-generate or kumuha or nag-measure ng data. Okay? So example, we have direct observation. Okay? So let's say gusto nating pag-aralan yung lifestyle ng mga animals na nasa wildlife. So what we do is pupunta tayo sa natural habitat nila doon sa wildlife and we observe them. Okay? We take down notes kung ano yung eating habits nila, kung ano yung sleeping habits nila, and so on. Okay? So yung ating mga na-observe, we take them down at yun yung magiging data natin. Okay? So what we did is we observe, we take down notes, and yun yung ating magiging data. Okay? So that is objective method because the data comes from our own observation. So tayo ang kumuha ng data. Hindi siya binigay ng mga hayop or ng whatever na andun sa natural habitat nila or sa wildlife. Instead, we observe them and we take down notes or observation. Okay? So, ibig sabihin tayo ang source of the data or the information. Okay? Another example of objective method is yung experiment. Okay? So, very common no? Sa engineering and science na mga process. Okay? So, here we conduct experiments. Okay? And during sa pag-conduct na experiment, we do certain measurements. Okay? Let's say we measure the height of a plant. Okay? So yung ating na-measure na height, that is the data, okay? And that is an objective method yung ating ginawa because we are the one who measured the height and we created or generated the data out of our measurement, okay, using ruler ba or mga measuring sticks, okay? So that is experiment, okay? So pwede rin kumuha tayo ng timbang or temperature and whatever data or variable na gusto nating i-measure. Ang point doon is ang researcher ang source of data. Siya ang gumawa ng data, siya ang nag-measure ng data. Okay, that is objective method. Okay? Yung pangalawa, ang subjective method naman, it involves the respondent providing the data. Okay? So here, instead na yung researcher yung nag-measure or gumawa ng data, ang data is binigay ng respondent. Okay? Kung ano yung pinapag-aralan, yung ating pinapag-aralan, siya yung nagbigay ng data. Okay? So in this case, normally respondents naman are people. Okay? So what we do is just interview them or tinanong sila. But the answers will always come from the respondent, sa kanila galing. Okay? So the data is coming from them, no? Yung data is galing sa kanila, not from the researcher. Okay? So yan yung subjective method. Okay? The data must come from what we are studying. Okay? So example nga dun is the survey. Another method of data collection is yung use of existing records. No? It involves the use of data collected previously by other persons or organization. In this case, we compile existing data or records. Okay? Out of that compilation ng mga data na yan, we come up or we create new data or information. Okay? Halimbawa, we want to establish yung rainfall pattern sa General Santos City. So what we do is to gather all data na related to rainfall. Okay? So let's say 80s man yan or 70s kung kailan available or may data na, we gather them all. Okay? So after gathering them all, we analyze them and afterwards we summarize and come up with a single chart ba or a single table of analysis na andun yung explanation ng rainfall pattern ng General Santos City. Okay? So with that, we do not do any experiment or fieldwork activity. Instead, we just collected existing or mga historical data. So that is yung third method, use of existing records. Okay? So those are the three general method of data collection. Number one, objective method, yung researcher ang gumawa or nag-measure ng data. Number two, ang subjective method, yung respondent, whatever yung pinapag-aralan niya, yun yung nag-provide ng data. And then number three, yung paggamit ng existing or mga historical records in order to come up with a new data or information. So mga specific ways of data collection, number one, survey, nabanggit na, we survey part of the population instead na lahat-lahat ng andun sa population, we sample, no? We do sample lang and then saka siya iso-survey. And we make a census, no, of the entire population. Number two, we have observational study. Okay, we observe the subjects, but we do not attempt to modify the subjects being studied. Okay, so from the term na observation, okay, we just simply observe kung ano yung natural occurrence ng bagay na gustong pag-aralan natin. Okay, so we observe things, no, in their natural habitat or natural conditions. We do not attempt to modify. Wala tayong i-introduce na kahit ano. Okay? So we simply take down observations kung ano yung natural way, no, of our subjects, no, na ginagawa yung kanilang mga bagay na ginagawa. Okay? So example diyan is we observe how many drivers speed on the campus. Okay? So ayan, we observe kung gaano kadami yung mga drivers nag-overspeeding or gaano din ba yung mabagal, or how much or ano ang average speed ng ating mga driver. So we just do observational study. We observe, we record our observations, and partly we use existing mga data na rin. Okay, so with that, we just do observations. We do not introduce anything sa ating subjects at hand. Okay, so that is observational study. Number three, experiment. Okay, so in this case, we apply some sort of treatment. Ito yung mag-i-introduce tayo ng bago. Okay? So yung ating introduce is our changes in the form of treatments. Okay? So we introduce something new, something innovative, or something na bago. Okay? And we want to observe kung ano yung effect ng bago na yan or yung treatment na yan. Okay? So example, we give 10 potted soils as soil conditioner. Okay, so meron tayong soil conditioner na na-develop or na-formulate. So and we want to know kung anong effect niya sa soil infiltration rate. Okay, kung mag-work ba siya or not. Okay, so yung ating treatments are now yung ating soil conditioner because yan yung i-introduce natin. Okay, so those are the changes na gusto nating i-introduce sa soil conditioner. Okay, and we want to observe the effect. The effect is the infiltration rate. Gaano nga ba ka-effective siya to absorb or to allow water to flow through the soil. Okay? So, ayan, we have the treatment, the soil conditioner, and we have the effect, yung ating infiltration rate. Okay? So, in other words, ang goal ng experiment is to demonstrate cause and effect relationship. Okay? Yung ating cause is the treatment, yung ating effect is yung kanyang result. Okay? So we do cause and effect na relationship between two variables. That is to show that changing the value of one variable causes changes to occur in a second variable. Okay? So we introduce something new. So we cause the changes. Okay? And then we want to know kung ano ang magiging effect niya. Okay, so that is cause and effect. Okay, so in an experiment, one variable is manipulated. Ito yung ating cause. Okay, so manipulated yung isang variable. Okay, yung ating treatment is the cause. We manipulate yung ating treatment, binabago-bago yung formulation or we introduce something new nga. So that is manipulation. Okay, so one variable is manipulated, a second variable is observed and measured. Okay, ito naman yung effect. Okay, we introduce the treatment or the changes and we want to know yung kanyang effect or the observed and measured na effect niya. Okay? And these measurements are then compared to see if there are differences between treatment conditions and all other variables are controlled to prevent them from influencing the result. Okay? So in an experiment, the manipulated variable is called as independent and the observed is called as the dependent. Okay? So yung ating treatment is the independent. Okay? Because ito yung ating cause. Okay? So ito yung ating manipulated variable. Okay? So yung kanyang effect of the observed variable is what we call as the dependent. Okay? So independent, yung ating treatment or the cause or the manipulated variable. Yung kanyang result is the dependent variable or yung ating effect or the observed variable. Okay? So, yan yung dalawang variables that act in an experiment. Okay? Okay, going back doon sa survey, a survey solicits information from people. Example dyan, we have sa pre-election polls. Okay, very common yan. Okay, even during election time, mayroong mga nag-interview kung sino yung mga potential winners. So, that is pre-election polls and that is survey. Okay? Pwede rin marketing survey. If we have a certain product na bago and we want to introduce that sa market, we do surveys kung acceptable ba or hindi, masarap ba or hindi. Okay, yung ating product na ini-introduce. Okay? Ang pakatandaan sa survey para maging maganda yung ating result is dapat mataas yung ating response rate. The response rate is the proportion of all the people selected who complete the survey. So, ilan yung nakatapos sa survey? Ilan lahat yung na-survey? Okay? The more na mataas yung ating response rate, the more na magiging accurate or reliable yung ating survey results. Okay? So, ang problema lang with the response rate, hindi naman lahat ng mga sinusurvey gustong magpa-survey. Okay? So, may mga respondents na ayaw, may mga respondents na deadma, and may mga respondents na hindi magandang sumagot. Okay? So, kailangan nga maganda yung pagkakapili ng sample at yung method is maganda in order to have a good response rate and results. Okay? So, paano pwede gawin yung survey? Number one, we have personal interview. Okay? So, this is one-on-one or face-to-face interaction. Okay, we interview, we ask questions sa ating respondent, and then sasagot siya, we record them. Okay, so personal interview. Another method is ang telephone interview. Okay, so very common nowadays, may tatawag sa cellphone or sa telephone asking you if you are interested to a certain product. Let's say credit card or mga insurance, no? So those are telephone interview. They are doing survey kung interested ba or hindi or meron bang excitement na kunin yung products from the potential ng mga respondents. Okay? Number three, we have self-administered questionnaire. Ito naman, bibigyan tayo or ang ating respondents bibigyan ng questionnaire and then allow the respondents to answer that by himself or by herself. Okay? So ang problema lang dyan, marami or in many cases, ayaw, hindi sasagutin or hindi sasagot doon sa ating questionnaire yung ating respondent because nga iniwan lang. So we just left the questionnaire sa respondent, allow him or her to answer that at his or her most convenient time. So yun ang struggle doon, sasagutin niya ba or hindi. Okay? Another one is the internet. Okay, so we can do surveys sa internet. I think that is very common nowadays. No, because nga isang click lang, meron ng results agad. Okay, so in a survey, pakatandaan na dapat maganda yung ating pagkakapili ng sample or yung ating sampling procedure is tama. No? Recall that statistical inference permits us to draw conclusions about a population based on a sample. Okay? So, nasabi ko na kanina, so dapat tama yung pagkakapili ng sample because the result will be used to generalize the population. Okay? So, dapat tama ang sample para tama ang data, tama ang conclusion na pwedeng gawin regarding sa population. Okay? So, normally we do sampling for cost reason, mas mura, no? Mas makaka-budget kung kaunti lang kaysa kalahatan or kabuuan yung ating pag-aaralan. And then practical, mas mabilis nagagawa yung survey compared sa census. Or I mean, yung sampling mas mabilis kaysa sa buong population yung pag-aaralan. Okay? So yan, before we conduct the sampling procedure, so gagawa muna tayo ng sampling plan. This is a method or process or procedure for specifying how a sample will be taken. Okay? So plano yan, how we will select the samples and if possible, kung kayang ma-determine, we prepare a list of all samples na gagawing respondents. Okay? So advantage it saves time because if we have the sampling list na on hand, madali na lang yung pag-administer ng survey. Okay, it saves time at the same time, it saves financial and human resources. Disadvantages, number one, we are unable to find out information about the population's characteristics of interest to you, but you only estimate or predict them. Okay? Sometimes may mga population or mga samples na mahirap ma-locate. Okay? Let's say we want to study yung mga rebel groups. Mahirap. Okay? So we do not have any sampling list for that one. So nagiging struggle yung pag-prepare ng sampling plan. Okay? Another one is the possibility of an error in your estimation exists. Okay? So possible because human error mga. Okay? So possible na may error din sa estimation. Okay? So in our next video, we will be discussing kung ano-ano yung mga specific types ng mga sampling method. Okay? So for that discussion, please check the succeeding videos.